Hi, I'm Cam Weiland, and welcome to this week's Writing Q&A video. This week's question is from Val Harbolovic, who asks, in one of your future videos, could you talk about the action and reaction periods at the act level, please? Is there more reaction than action in Act 1? Is there more action than reaction in Act 2? What about Act 3? If Act 1 is predominantly reaction, does that make for a passive protagonist? So this is an important question, which mostly comes down to definitions. So let me first just start by giving a baseline definition of what story is and how it works on a mechanical level. And that is simply that we have a protagonist who is moving with forward progression toward a goal that is met by opposition, which creates conflict. And obviously both of these are important because if you don't have a protagonist who has a goal, then you don't have conflict. If you don't have conflict, then the goal is immediately achieved and the story's over. However, also by this definition, we can see why we really don't want to have a passive protagonist. I would define a passive protagonist as one who isn't really choosing their own actions. They're not someone who has a particular intention, and they're not choosing how they're going to move forward in the story. They're just buffeted about by the decisions and actions of others. So simply we could say that a passive protagonist is one who isn't making their own decisions, but is allowing their decisions or their actions to be decided by others. However, reactivity is a very important part of any story. We see the balance of action and reaction at almost every level of story. We have it within scene structure, in which every scene is made up of an action half and a reaction half, sometimes called scene and sequel. And we also see it at the level of the story as a whole, in which generally you will see the character moving from a reactive space in the beginning of the story and then slowly evolving that into a more and more active space until the end of the story. So there isn't a clear flip from reaction to action, but generally speaking, you can think of the character as being in a reactive phase in the first half of the story. So that would be the entire first act and up through the first half of the second act to the midpoint, at which there is a significant realization at the moment of truth, and also a plot revelation that allows the character to gain insight into their intentions and their modes of action, which from that point on allows them to start acting more effectively and therefore more and more actively, more and more being the one who's able to control outcome in the story and move against that opposition within the story much more effectively. And so in the second half, from the midpoint on, we see that character in an active phase, moving through the third act toward however that is decided in the climactic moment. So again, it's not like reaction in the first half, action in the second, but it is this arc that we do see that is punctuated by the midpoint in the beginning. So that's the simplest way to think of it. It's not, the important contrast here is between passive and reactive. Just because a character is reactive does not mean that they're not, they don't have agency, right? That they're not the one making choices, that they're not the one with a strong intention that they're moving toward, that they're choosing to move toward. Basically, it just means that they're not comparatively in control of outcome, that they're not effective. So, which is what creates the conflict. Because if they were, able to be immediately effective in gaining their goal, there's no conflict and the story is immediately over. So really, story in large part, no matter really what kind of goal your character is moving toward, whether it's an action-oriented goal or something concrete like a treasure that they're hunting, or a relational goal, story is all about the character learning how to be more effective over the arc of the story until finally they're able to get what they want. Or alternatively, in a different type of story, it's about how the character never learns how to be effective or chooses modes of effectiveness that are counterproductive in the end, which is what we often see in negative change arcs. So I hope that's helpful. This is an important distinction to understand, but once you do, it's pretty simple. And as long as your character is moving toward a goal and is learning how to be increasingly effective over the course of the story, that's a clear sign that they're not passive and that you're on the right track. So So before I go, just a quick announcement. You may have seen, if you're on my mailing list or my social media platforms, that I'm releasing a secret project, and it's something I've been working on all summer. I'm not going to say too much about it here because I don't want to make the video super long, but I will say that it is the Writing Archetypal Character Arcs Guided Meditations. And I'm really excited about this. This is based on the 6 archetypal character arcs that I talk about in my book, Writing Archetypal Character Arcs, and just sort of taking it to a new level, offering a new tool that will hopefully help you access the magic of archetype, which is ultimately found, deep within your own imagination and understanding of that inherent symbolism. So if you're interested, I am doing an early bird release tomorrow, which is Friday, the 15th of September, 2023. So if you jump on that, there's a link down below. You can get early access and a small discount. And if not, stay tuned. I will be talking about this more and explaining more about it and why I think this is such a great tool for writers and why I'm so excited about it. So I will see you next week.